alone on the island after the plane crash. The flight in the crash. The plane had taken off at dawn, its silver body gleaming under the pale morning sun. Inside, passengers murmured softly, some still half asleep, others glued to their phones. I had taken a window seat, staring at the clouds as though they held answers to questions I had long avoided. The journey was supposed to be routine, another business trip, another cycle in the endless wheel of obligations. But then the turbulence began. At first it was light, the kind you expect and ignore. But soon the cabin rattled violently, oxygen masks dropped and screams filled the air. My heart pounded as I clutched the armrests, a voice inside me whispering that this was the end. The sound of tearing metal was the last thing I remembered before everything went black. When I opened my eyes again, I was not in a plane anymore. I was lying face down on wet sand, salt water filling my mouth, and the wreckage of the aircraft scattered across a desolate shore. Chapter 1: Awakening on the Shore. The first thing I felt was pain, sharp, gnawing, radiating across my ribs and legs. I coughed seawater, dragging myself to dry sand. The world around me spun, but slowly reality took form: broken luggage, shattered metal, and silence except for the crash of waves. I was alone. For hours, I crawled across the beach searching for other survivors. None, only debris. A half-burned suitcase yielded a few clothes, some wrapped snacks, and a small notebook. I clutched it as though it was treasure. Night came quickly and fear with it. With no fire, no roof, I huddled against a palm tree, listening to the cries of strange creatures in the jungle behind me. Sleep was not rest, but exhaustion dragging me into unconsciousness. Chapter 2: Hunger, Thirst, and Shelter. By the second day, thirst gnawed at me more than hunger. I searched desperately for fresh water. Every instinct told me that without it I would not survive long. Following the sound of trickling, I found a small stream running inland, its water cool and sweet. I drank until my stomach hurt, relief flooding me. Next came the question of food. The few snacks salvaged from the wreckage were gone quickly. I studied the trees, coconuts hung above but were impossible to reach without tools. It took me half a day and bloody hands to finally knock one down. The milk inside was life itself. That night I built my first crude shelter, branches, palm leaves, and desperation holding it together. It would not stop rain nor predators, but it gave me the illusion of safety. Chapter 3: Exploration of the Island. By the third day I knew I could not stay at the beach forever. The wreckage was a reminder of death, not life. So I ventured inland. The island was larger than I thought: dense jungle, cliffs, and hidden valleys. Birds of bright colors darted above, while insects buzzed relentlessly. I found fruit trees, though I feared which ones were safe. Hunger forced me to try, and luckily some were edible. I learned to watch animals, what they ate I dared to eat. Still, each bite carried fear of poison. At the highest cliff I gazed at the endless horizon. No ships, no planes, nothing. The island was my world now. Chapter 4: Signs of Hope and Despair. Days blended together, I marked them in the notebook, each line proof that I still existed. Sometimes I thought I saw movement far down the beach, but when I ran, nothing was there. Was it hope or madness? One afternoon, while searching tide pools, I found something strange: a glass bottle worn by the sea. Inside was a scrap of paper, illegible but proof that someone at some time had been near here. The thought gave me both comfort and dread. I was not the first castaway. Chapter 5: Building Tools and Learning to Survive. Necessity became my teacher. I fashioned sharp edges from broken metal, spears from bamboo, and learned to fish in the shallows. Fire was harder. It took me nearly 2 weeks of failure until finally smoke became flame. That night I wept before the fire, a fragile victory against the darkness. Each day became routine: fetch water, find food, strengthen shelter, keep fire alive. Yet even as I survived, loneliness pressed heavier. I spoke aloud just to hear a voice, even if it was my own. Chapter 6: Hallucinations and the Weight of Loneliness. The silence began to play tricks. I heard footsteps behind me when there were none, saw figures in the trees that vanished when I blinked. Sometimes I imagined voices calling my name from the sea. Loneliness was more dangerous than hunger. I began writing in the notebook, pages filled with letters to my family, to strangers, even to God. It was my tether to sanity. Chapter 7: Storms, Injuries, and Struggles. The first storm nearly killed me. Winds tore my shelter apart, rain flooded everything, and lightning split the sky. I clung to a tree, soaked and shivering, praying it would end. When it did, I was left bruised, half-starved, and desperate. In the days after, I cut my foot on coral while fishing. Infection set in quickly, swelling and burning. For a week I lay in agony, fever consuming me until finally it broke. Survival was not strength but stubbornness. Chapter 8: A Discovery, Evidence of Past Inhabitants. Weeks later, while exploring deeper inland, I found ruins. Stone walls half buried in vines, carvings weathered but visible, proof of a people who had once lived here. Who were they? What happened to them? The mystery haunted me. Among the ruins, I found a rusted knife and fragments of pottery, relics of lives long gone, now my companions in solitude. Chapter 9: The Turning Point, Fire, Signals, and Determination. I realized waiting was death. If no one came, I had to bring rescue to me. I built signal fires on the cliffs, kept them ready with dry wood. Each day I scanned the horizon, searching for sails, for contrails in the sky. But determination replaced despair. I was no longer just surviving, I was fighting for life, for a future beyond this island. Chapter 10: Rescue or a New Beginning. One morning, as the sun rose blood-red, I saw it, a ship on the horizon. My heart thundered. I lit the signal fire, smoke billowing into the sky. I screamed, waved, ran the length of the beach. The ship turned, it saw me. Tears blurred my vision as a small boat rowed toward shore. After endless days, I was no longer alone. But as they pulled me aboard, I looked back at the island, my prison, my teacher, my curse, my salvation. Epilogue: Reflections after survival. Back in civilization, everything felt strange. The noise of cars, the glow of screens, the rush of people, it was overwhelming. I had dreamed of this moment, yet part of me longed for the simplicity of the island. Hunger, thirst, survival, they had stripped me down to something real. The island had taken much from me, but it had also given me a truth. We do not live by routine, by comfort, by illusion. We live by will, by fire, by the refusal to surrender. And though I was rescued, I knew the island would never truly leave me. It lived in my scars, in my memories, and in the part of me that had been reborn on its lonely shores.